and it took like, I don't know, months to get it straightened out.
Princess Elizabeth was 25 when she inherited the throne of England following the death of King George VI in 1952. She was given more than a year to mourn her father before enjoying the lavish coronation celebration at Westminster Abbey on June 2, 1953. The crowning of Elizabeth II was witnessed by people around the world and were privileged to have a television set. As a child, Elizabeth had not expected to become queen, but the abdication of her uncle at 88 put her in line for the throne when she was 10. As a teenager, she enlisted in women's war services, where she became the second lieutenant who prepared and drove trucks.
In 1856, a group of pro-slavery men burned the town of Lawrence, Kansas, to send a message to those against slavery. In response, John Brown, a fiery abolitionist, is convinced that violence is the only solution. And on a dark night near Potawatomi Creek, Brown and his men lead 3 former slave catchers into a field and slaughter them with broadswords. Working his way back east, he attempts to gather new men, white and black, encouraging slaves to break the chains and join his army. Now a fugitive, many abolitionists in the North consider Brown a hero. And in October 1859, he makes a stand in Harper's Ferry, Virginia, at the town arsenal. His army is only 20 men, and Robert E. Lee's Marines quickly close in. 10 of Brown's men are killed, including 2 of his sons. John Brown is captured, and on December 2nd, 1859, he's hanged, and the rest is history. This is your history, your news.
And welcome back. President Obama has been reporting the country rallying support for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a free trade agreement between 12 Pacific Rim countries. But the proposed deal has been the topic of controversy on Capitol Hill. One America's Ryan Hopeful has that story.
Talks began for the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, known as TPP, back in 2005, with the U.S. joining 3 years later. Initially made up of only 4 countries, the deal evolved into one that could involve 40% of the total world economy. The deal has even had some bipartisan support on Capitol Hill, with congressional Republicans successfully fast-tracking the legislation as President Obama tries to garner support from voters.
And it reflects our values in ways that, frankly, some previous trade agreements did not. It's the highest standard, most progressive trade deal in history. It's got strong enforceable provisions for workers, preventing things like child labor.
So on one hand, you have the president saying the TPP will help enforce stronger economic and environmental regulations across the Pacific. On the other, there's Senator Elizabeth Warren, who says multinational corporations are the only winners in the deal. The progressive leader has called out the president for staying quiet about investor state dispute panels, or ISDS. According to her, the panels would give companies the power to work around U.S. laws, essentially self-regulating themselves.
The company could skip the U.S. court and go before an international panel of arbitrators. If the company wins, the ruling cannot be challenged in U.S. courts, and the arbitration panel could require the American taxpayers to cover millions and even billions of dollars in damages.
The Senate is scheduled to vote on a customs bill related to the TPP later this month, as the president continues lobbying for the legacy-defining deal. Here in studio for American News, I'm Ryan Hopeful. Back to you at the desk.
And Union Pacific crews are working to clear a major train derailment south of San Antonio, Texas. More than half of the train's 60 cars came off the tracks on Friday, spilling gravel onto Highway 281. About 500 feet of track is damaged and will need to be repaired before reopening. Union Pacific says there are no hazardous material on board and no injuries have been reported. The company says whether may have been a factor in that derailment, the investigation continues. A Mexican judge returns a missing teenager to her mother in the U.S. after she was sent to Mexico against her will years ago. Officials say Alondra Diaz's father took her to Mexico 8 years ago without her mother's consent, and her whereabouts were unknown until recently. Now, the case gained international attention when the judge incorrectly identified another girl as the missing child and sent her to the U.S. instead.
What an idiot.
That mistake was fixed after officials conducted.
Now they're trying to sue the judge.
The real identity of Alondra Diaz Diaz as the woman's daughter.
Después de haber realizado las pruebas
After performing genetic tests to hair, saliva, and blood, we were able to conclude that there is compatibility, so the tests are positive. Meanwhile, the parents of the wrongly identified girl traveled to the courts and demanded an apology from the judge. Federal investigation is underway. 3 adults and a child are found dead in an upscale Washington, D.C. home. One America's Sonny Rutella has the latest.
A corporate executive, his wife, their 10-year-old son, and a housekeeper were all slain inside the Northwest Washington home on Thursday. Authorities say at least 3 of the victims suffered stab wounds or blunt force injuries, all before the home was set on fire. Police are calling the fire very suspicious, and they're seeking information about the family's blue 2008 Porsche, which was also set on fire. Officials say there are no signs of forced entry into the multi-million-dollar home, which is about 1 mile from the residence of Vice President Joe Biden. Investigators are combing through evidence and are expected to be at the scene for the next few days. Sonny Matoa, One American News.
And an unlikely pair locates the missing gun used to kill 2 Hattiesburg, Mississippi police officers. State investigators say the city workers who were cutting grass at the time stumbled upon the gun used in the murders of Benjamin Dean and reporter Tate. Ballistic tests later confirmed it to be the missing weapon used during last week's fatal traffic stop. A total of 7 people have been arrested in connection to the shootings. Dean's funeral was held Thursday, and Tate's service will be held today. A Baltimore cop is sentenced to 6 months in jail after pleading guilty to beating an unarmed suspect during an arrest last year. Vincent Cossum originally said he was defending himself against the suspect after a verbal altercation. Video surveillance showed otherwise, however, as the officer repeatedly hit Colin Truss in the face while he was walking away. Cossum was sentenced to 5 years, but accepted a plea deal with prosecutors to suspend most of his sentence. Prosecutors are confident he will also be fired. And a former biotech executive who shot his ex-business partner and his estranged brother-in-law will spend his life behind bars.